So competency-based education is about what the student can produce. It's about student performance and student production, whereas a more traditional methodology would be about what the teacher does and how the teacher teaches in order to meet the standards. So in a competency-based approach, you need to think about what your students are going to be turning into you at the end and how they are going to show what they know. And that's really where the focus needs to be. It needs to be more learner-centered as opposed to teacher-centered. When I am coming up with materials for students, the first thing that I do is that I go to the district website, and under departments, there is a little curriculum button, and I look up the standards that I'm expected to teach in whatever the classes are. And I usually find them over here under this direction. And then I think about the overarching questions to that, like what's the point of a student having parts of speech memorized? What is the point of a student knowing about the different regions of colonial America? What are we really thinking about? What do we want how do we want the students to apply this knowledge that we're trying to teach them? What do we want them to be able to do with it? So I am working on, I have a student who is doing an independent ELA project, and I need her to know, because of district standards, I need her to understand the different parts of literature and understand different parts of a narrative, like theme and genre, conflict setting, characters, point of view, all that good stuff. Because of a previous conversation that I had with her, I know that she likes horror and mystery. So I came and I got online and I pulled 15 short stories that are in that genre. And I'm asking her to explore these resources that I've given her and then produce a table with 3 different stories where she is identifying the themes and the genre and conflicts. So she's showing her understanding to me in this format that I set up for her to do. And in art class that I'm teaching, the standard is that the students are going to be exploring different parts of the elements of art, and then also practicing and showing growth, and they are going to be able to articulate how their work is showing that they understand these different elements of art. So I'm asking the students to produce a digital portfolio where they're keeping track of the different art and the different art that they're exploring. And then I am asking them to go through each element of art. And so I've given them learning materials so they can learn about what an art portfolio looks like, what theme in art is, and then also specifically what is the element of art line. And they have resources to explore there. And then I've given them a rubric, and so they can see what I'm looking for in order to assess their work. For an ELA, it's ELA and history, I gave the kids a reflection assignment, and I give this periodically once or twice a quarter. And the goal is to get students to reflect on their learning and to make SMART goals. For this, the performance or the production is, again, a digital portfolio, but it's also a video where they are speaking and articulating these different skills that they learned. So they're learning reading skills, research skills by researching and learning on their own independently these different concepts, mission statements, SMART goals, action plans, vision boards. And they are producing these things, and then they're putting them together and creating a presentation for me, their teacher, to assess and see where they're at. The expectation is, of course, that the student is going to be meeting all their ELA standards and researching and reading standards by producing this stuff. They have to have all those building blocks and all those skills in order to produce a project or a product that is going to be coherent and cohesive and something that I, as the audience or a wider audience, is going to be able to engage with. So when I was looking at competency-based education, this book, one of the quotes that really stood out to me was that performance matters. And one learns to perform through a series of unconditionally supported attempts to reach a level of competency within a given domain. So my students they know that the district has an expectation that I'm going to be giving them a grade at the end of the semester, but they have all semester to do what they need to do. And oftentimes my students will end up revising their work 3 or 4 or 5 times in order to get it to that competency level. And it's during those revision times where I'm going down into the nitty gritty building blocks of, well, you know, your adjectives are a little weak and we need to work on your vocabulary with this, or, well, I'm not sure that you quite understood that concept and here are some more resources, or let's you and I have a conversation about what exactly you know, the zones of regulation are for, or what exactly the difference between the Constitution and Articles of Confederation was. You know, you had an opportunity to go on those look at those materials on your own, but I can see from the product that you're giving me that your understanding wasn't quite where it needed to be. And that's really where the real teaching begins. It doesn't begin with me up in front of the room telling all the students the same thing. The real teaching happens is during that iteration process, during those assessment things. And while that seems like a lot of heavy lifting for people who have 30 students in a room at a time, really, when you front load these projects and give them all to the students, you're only going to have to really focus your attention on that 10 to 30% of students who are struggling. You can focus your attention on them and let those other students who really don't need you to tell them what to do, let them go off and do what they need to do. And oftentimes I find that I'm challenged in keeping ahead of the work and making sure that my high flyers have enough work where I can sit, you know, shoulder to shoulder with my face guards and my plexiglass and everything to help the students who really need that one-on-one attention. Where, you know, in whole group instruction that was based on a more traditional methodology, they would have been checked out even if they were behaving. So make sure that you're focusing on what students are producing, that they're the ones who need to be doing the heavy lifting and the learning, and that that you're thinking about skills. So what the students can do as opposed to what they theoretically have learned by what they show you on a worksheet. Backwards design also. So go and check out the district standards and then ask yourself what those standards are for. Like what's the point of learning those standards, and what is it that we're really asking students to do that they can take out of an academic setting and apply to their lives outside of school.